Good morning and welcome to What's News in Healthcare Social Media. I'm Kathy Brown of Brown Nose Social Media, and today I have with me Linda Myers of LAM Consulting. Linda, would you like to say hello?
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Nice to be a part of this hangout.
Linda is a good friend of mine. She's from the local area. I think that she has great talent and great knowledge, and I'm honored to have her join me today for today's discussions. She is not of the healthcare background, but she has a lot of social media experience, and if you look at her profile, you'll be very impressed with it. So I think she brings a lot to the table today. So we're going to dive right in. One of the first articles that I've posted on the event page is the post about the Facebook page that a woman started encouraging Iranian women to shed their veils and post pictures. And the woman thought that it would be something fun to do and something she could relate to, and it went crazy. She called it Stealthy Freedoms of Iranian Women, and in a matter of just a few days, a little over a week, she had 150,000 likes and more pictures posted than she could imagine. And I wanted to pose the question of why something like this would take off so well. And Linda, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, and I think part of why it took off so well is this is one place that these women could do it. There is a little bit of anonymity, even though their faces are showing, but they can do it and feel safe and feel comfortable in doing it. And it gave them a freedom that they didn't feel like they could do in public. So social media is a little bit of there's a barrier between you and the outside world, so you feel like you have more freedom through social media than you do in public.
Definitely. And I think by the response that she got and the number of women, the first thing I did when I read this article was I wanted to go to the Facebook page and see who had posted. Were they, peeking through their veils? Were they obscuring their faces? No, these were beautiful women proudly displaying who they were behind their veils, and I really got an immediate sense of empowerment from this page. And it made me really reflect on the whole healthcare field and how so much of the time there are things that we as patients are ashamed of because of the physical scars that remain or the emotional scars that remain from health issues. And I was wondering if we could talk just a little bit about how this might translate into the healthcare industry of empowering patients in a way that would bring healing. Any thoughts on that, Linda?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like the children who have cancer, who have the beads for everything that they've been through. It's a badge of honor. And once people understand that what they've been through in the healthcare world is really a badge of honor and it's not something to be ashamed of, again, Facebook gives you that little bit of freedom so you're not having to stand up in front of a large crowd of people and bare your soul, but they can do it very safely, and it's something that they can feel very empowered in, because some diseases are very physically scarring. But there are a lot of people that share that, and it's finding those same camaraderie people that share in that. That's why the Afghanistan thing worked too, where the getting rid of the veils is because there is a whole group of people in this world that all share that same thing, and it's finding those right connectors, and you can connect with people all over the world.
Definitely. Well, another article that I found that I wanted to jump onto right away because of its great illustration of how social media can work is the story of Tucker, a physical therapy dog that was used at, I can't even say it, Kapiolani Medical Center. And and Tucker made a lot of friends over the years. I guess Tucker has been there since Tucker was a puppy. And one of the people at the hospital decided to give Tucker, I'm assuming it's a him, his own social presence so that people could connect with him, and the response was overwhelming.
It was, and again, people love children, they love pets. It gives them hope, and actually there are a lot of therapy dogs that go into hospitals, and you can see the results of patients in Alzheimer's units, in assisted living facilities. Pets are a great healing tool. And again, even if it's a virtual pet, it's a pet that people can connect to. People want that connection. And maybe they can't, for some reason, have a pet come into them. This is their way of being able to share in that event.
Well, and the fact that Tucker built a relationship with those patients to give, well, first of all, many hospitals have therapy dogs or something equivalent, even if it's the reading dogs that come in once in a while. There are a lot of hospitals have this sort of thing. And patients grow a bond with those pets because animals are they're easy to trust. They don't argue back. They don't prick you with needles. And what I encourage the viewers to consider today is how can you leverage some of those things that might be taking place in your health system, your practice, your hospital, where those bonds can be maintained in the social space so that you remain in the mind of those patients who have since left your hospital or your practice. And when they have a need for that again, they immediately remember the bond that they've created through this social space, that you keep that connection with them all along the way.
It's one of those things that brings memories, and memories are a very important part of healing anyway, and going back to those really great things, remembering the pain but remembering what got you through it. We often forget the little things that we do every day, and I encourage everybody to think of those little things. You may not think it's important, but I'll tell you, your patients do. And that pet, whatever's going on there, it has an impact on their life. And so, therefore, don't think anything's too small to share socially.
Definitely. So if any of you have therapy dogs or something equivalent, and this is spawning some thoughts in your head on this, I would love to have you comment. I am watching the comments as they're going on in the event page, and I'd like to know your comments on that. We may continue the conversation outside of this hangout when we're over. It's hard to pack so much into 30 minutes, so I want to move on to one that I think is going to require a lot of conversation, and that is the Social Media Examiner article, 10 Ways to Get Live Viewers for Your Google Hangouts on Air. And I must admit that when I started to read through this, I thought, oh, I'm gonna know what all these are, and they're going to be a waste of time. And I went back through them and realized that I used to do some of these things, and I have not been doing them very well. And so I revisited many of them to just go through the steps and see why I stopped doing some of them and which ones I should go back to doing. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation because I know that a lot of the viewers that are out there, Sheila, Roxanne, Scott, some of the others, do their own Hangouts on Air. And so I would like to have some feedback as I'm having this discussion and see how many of these things you agree with and don't agree with. And the first one is the consistent branding, which I don't think we need to talk a lot about. Consistent branding goes across anything that you do, right, Linda?
Oh, absolutely. People don't know who you are unless they can actually connect with you and you're always consistently there. If you're one thing today and another thing tomorrow, they can never latch onto you and know who you truly are. So branding is of utmost importance. And part of what branding is too, and where a lot of people get hung up, is branding is not what you say about you, but what others are saying about you. So take those cues from what others are saying about you, not just trying to shove something new. Because if you're seen as one thing and trying to market yourself as another, you better look at what you're seen as doing, because that is your strength and that's what people are looking to you for.
Very good point. One of the second thing that they talked about was the headline, and I must admit I've been very bad about this because I've been struggling myself. So I'm going to ask the audience too to provide some feedback for me. I've tried to keep this as a constant show of what's news in healthcare social media, healthcare and social media being the buzzwords. We always want to have those keywords in our headlines, but not really changing that title much other than the date, because the title really says so much, and I've struggled with that, and I'm curious what other people think. But the headline, when they refer to the headline, is really the title of your Hangout on Air. It's not your banner, but your actual title. And that's something that I think we all kind of know should be done. But I want to move to some of the meat.
Great.
And one of the things that they talk about is keeping track of your audience with a notification circle. Do you do much in the Google Plus space, or do you spend more time in other spaces, first of all?
I spend them in both. We're doing more in Google Plus now, and we've been watching that quite a bit, seeing where it's headed and where it's not headed in some realms there too. So gathering your audience, no matter what social format you're using is extremely important, because that is what we call the driest tinder. And they're the ones that can spark your fans. The best thing you can have is word of mouth marketing. And so by inviting people and having friends and friends and friends invite people, you extend your sphere of influence. And we call it Pyro Marketing, because it's like taking a match and lighting the fire and fanning the flames as you're going through. And that's what you need to do, is collect those names and keep holding on to them and move along with that audience.
Yeah, and I'd like to share a couple of things that I've learned about this. In the earlier days, I had a circle of healthcare marketing people, and it was very large. I tried to keep it under 100 so everybody got notices, and when I exceeded that, I created a second circle. And I now have a circle that they are the viewers of these What's News in Healthcare social media. I used to send out invitations and notices to all those people, and I realized when people started doing it to me how spammy it was, and I felt really bad, so I stopped doing that, and I sent one message to those circles, and I said, if you want to receive notices, tell me, and I'll put you in my viewer's circle, or if you actually watched it, I'm going to put you in my viewer's circle. And I go back to my Hangouts afterwards, and anybody who says that they came, that they clicked the yes, if they're not already in that circle, then I put them in that circle because I know they've shown an interest and they see value in it. But I have stopped just collectively throwing things out there, because these invites, especially to Hangouts on Air, can end up on a calendar and junk up a calendar.
Right.
And would say, well, you have the ability to turn that off. Well, let me share a little insight with you. Yes, you have the ability to turn those off. But if you're someone like me who gets invites from people who have different avenues of sending you invites to Hangouts than what are normal, i.e. if we hang out with Google or we hang out with people that have other outside packages, sometimes those get lost if we don't have that turned on to automatically go to our calendars. There's something in that transfer of information and notification that gets lost. So I have no choice but to turn that on 100% of the time. So everything I get invited to gets put on my calendar.
Wow.
So I'm really sensitive to that. So just that was a little sidebar piece of information for people.
That's really good, and you can move them into other, circles or whatever, but make sure you keep collecting them and then talk to them in the way that they want to be talked to. That's what we always say is, take them through the door that they've come in on, but then move them to where they want to be within your circles.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I want to move on to number 4, that talks about using the click-to-tweet link. I'll be honest, I really didn't get this one. I think it's a great concept, but it didn't work the way I thought it would when I tested it. I created the click-to-tweet like they suggested. Here's something I learned, and I don't know if this is a glitch in the newer versions of Hangouts on Air events page or if they're doing this permanently, but I used to be able to go back to my event page, do an edit of the event, and I could turn on advanced options to pull up those other places where you can put links. I was not able to do that today, and I had intended to add my click-to-link link in that additional link section. I was not able to do that. So I put it in the body of the description of the Hangout. So those of you who are watching, if you would look at the details section of this Hangout, where it says you want to tell others, and there's a link, and it's an http/CTT, so on. That is my attempt to do it, and I would encourage you to click that and try it so we can all see how it works and if it works and get some ideas of how to use it better. And so I tested this. I don't know how well it works where I put it. I don't tend to click on things that are in the body, but maybe we can find out how to get that back into a easier section to see and use. Have you used anything like that, Linda, the click-to-tweet?
I have, but not on Google. I mean, we've done that in some Hangout room, not really Hangouts. We've done it, a lot of things with Twitter and tweets in a live environment like The Voice. That type of thing where it's running live and it's live feeds, but we've not gone direct to video or direct to a Hangout. Got to be honest on that one. Well, love the concept, just not sure it's working.
Well, I just added the link where you're able to put a link. I put the link to the Hangout, but in the case of what the idea that you just described, how do you use that? How do you work that into what you're doing? Where do you put it, and where do people see it?
Well, again, with television or radio or live events, you can do it. There, it's more of an internal thing, or example, television. It's real easy when you're doing it on a live television show. Those are the best examples of something that I've seen and that we've actually participated in. Live tweeting in an event is amazing, and we have a lot of fun with it. But it's a little harder when you're trying to gather people to come into something that is not in their general mainstream living rooms. So it's a lot harder to get people to do it. They've got to be in the moment, in the time, see that specific link. It's another one of those, social media, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't.
Mm-hmm. Well, number 5 was talking about adding audience reminders, and I have used the feature in the past on the events page where you can send a message to those that have either said yes, maybe, no, or haven't responded, and you can do that last-minute reminder. So I was a little bit confused on why they were suggesting sending out a picture of something that wouldn't necessarily have a link to the event page unless I'm missing something there. So I kind of went through the steps, and I thought it was not really useful, so I didn't use it. However, today when I tried to send those reminders, I kept getting an error message that I couldn't send it. So again, I don't know if they're doing some more updates to Hangouts that we'll be able to talk about next week, but I had some issues with Hangouts on air today, trying to do some of that.
I think those are more of a marketing function, trying to get interest in why they should come to the Hangouts. It's a little bit like the GoToMeeting event things. So they're trying to copy that in many ways, I believe. I think that's what it's more like.
Yeah, but if you're sharing a picture, then you have to put the link to the event in the body detail, in the detail of your post, rather than in the actual link section, and I think you lose something there. And if you've already got that built into the event page, I really didn't follow how that was better than simply sending out the reminder message to the viewers that you can selectively send to the yeses and maybes. So that
I agree. I think they're overthinking it. Is truly what it is. It's just a marketing function. People wanted a marketing function where they could show their brand.
Mm-hmm. Now, number 6 talks about the teaser video, and I used to do the teaser videos, and people are probably wondering why I stopped. I started it today, and I was pleasantly surprised that some of the glitches that have been there before are not there, so I will be going back to my teaser videos. I stopped doing teaser videos because when Google added the countdown in the video preview, for a while when I tried to put my teaser videos in, it would remove the countdown. And I thought it was more important to let people know how close they were to having it air, since we have so many problems with, well, what time zone is that in? And you don't always see your own time zone in the body. So I thought that was better, but I was pleasantly surprised that the two work in combination very well together now.
Great. That's fabulous.
I was pretty excited about that. But now let's go on to hashtags. Do you use much with hashtags, Linda?
Yes, we use hashtags all the time because you can track things. I mean, that is extremely, extremely important because then you can create trends. You can move yourself up. You have to use them. I mean, at least we tell everybody, please do, because it's the only way that you can get measurable results.
Yes, you can count the number of mentions in hashtags. There are ways of pulling up hashtags. Hashtags can be tracked in both Twitter, Google+, and anywhere you can imagine. So it's a great way to really pull in and take a look at what's going on in that conversation. So with the hashtags and Hangouts on Air, I'm going to admit again that I had dropped off on this. I have a hashtag which is HC Hangouts for Healthcare Hangouts, and I used to be really good at using that across the board on all my Hangouts. And I started tapping into the Hangout or tapping into the hashtags that were more popular, and it made me rethink this when I read this article, because in some cases I have tapped into some that have been overused and really hadn't thought about that. What are your thoughts on using hashtags that have already been established versus some of your own?
It depends. Now, it depends on if it's a topic that you're wanting to link onto. Say it might have been the Facebook with the unveiling, and you want to involve more people in the conversation, use the same hashtag. But if it's something that's unique to you, use a unique one, because that's the only way you're going to be able to track what the effectiveness is for yourself. It's you can do either or, but I'll tell you, the more unique you are, the more people come to what you are doing specifically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've got some people saying that when they tried to click on the links that we're talking about, the whole event page crashed. So I guess we'll find out if we can get some of the people back or not. Maybe maybe I've had so many viewers click on it that I've crashed. We'll soon see. But hopefully we'll get everybody back and they can hear what we're talking about and see as well. On the mobile users, this is a really good one. You know, the statistics have shown that mobile users of social media have grown exponentially over the last couple of years. It's been really crazy how people have taken to the smaller devices. And it's really hard in my world. I think it's hard sometimes to keep in mind the mobile user versus the laptop user. Even though I think of laptops as pseudo mobile, they're really not. This talks about sharing the YouTube link inside the event page. I think that's really an important thing in whatever you're doing, whether it's at the Hangouts or even something else that you're doing, to share that YouTube link on even your website pages so people have an easy way to go to it as opposed to trying to play it inside your own website or your own engine. Have you had an experience with some things working better than others, Linda?
Oh yeah, I got to tell you that you always have to think now of iPad and smartphones, period. We're seeing that it is exponentially moving to that end of viewership. So whenever you're doing anything, it's got to be extremely mobile friendly. Today I was thinking of using my iPad actually for the Google Hangout because I thought, you know, it's a great test instead of just sitting here with my laptop. We're just seeing more and more users. You've got to frame it in that type of frame, make it easy to get there fast as possible too. Because they don't want to burn up all their data. That's the other part of data plans and being so mobile anymore. Data usage is so high. So make sure.
That's a good point. Well, and you do a lot with the music industry. So what kind of considerations are there for sound when you're talking about sharing different links, whether it's on YouTube or something else? I know that when you're talking about video, you know, having the smaller resolution is good, but is there a point does that affect sound at all?
That's why we share MP3s. MP3s go across any format. Again, you want to be in whatever iTunes because people are using their smartphones or whatever for Pandora, multiple uses. So we say MP3, quality is not as good as on air because the WAV files are so huge. So whatever you're doing music-wise, you have to use MP3s.
Yep. Well, as we talk about the sound, Scott, this one's for you. We're going to transition to the next point that they make, and that is to consider podcasts. Scott made a comment on the event page about how podcasts have been mentioned quite a bit, and the reason for that is, in a lot of cases, people don't want to mess with the video. They want to be able to listen to things when they're driving, when they're working out. They want to have an easy way to pull in just the sound. And I've recently been having these conversations with people because the sound quality on Hangouts on Air really is excellent, and it's not hard to separate the audio from the visual and create your own podcasts, right?
That's very, very true. We're seeing it's interesting because devices are changing so much. Podcasts used to be the big, big deal. People are putting their iPads on their workout equipment and want to see and hear because we are such a visual society. So don't assume people want just the podcast. Give them options.
Definitely. So if any of you are already doing podcasts from your Hangouts on Air, I'd like you to post that on the event page, maybe have some conversations about it, because I think it would be good to have some talks about how to transition, how to tell people that you have both places. I don't know if it would be best to put that in one of the links on the event page or have a separate page. I just want to know what people are doing so we can talk about how it works, and that might be a topic of one of our future Hangouts. The last thing, number 10, is hang out in the comments. I love the comment section of the event page and of the community pages. I love to comment on the comments and to see the comments while we're having these discussions live. I don't know of any other tool that you can really do that well with. Do you?
No, they've taken it to the next level as far as being able to do it and have that immediacy, so I love it. I think that's, again, comments help everybody grow and learn, and you can talk to the subject, so it's perfect.
Now, what I want to see is somebody who decides that this therapy dog idea is great. I want to see somebody have a therapy dog hangout.
Oh, that would be great. I would too.
Wouldn't that be great? Where everybody could say hi to the dog and the dog could hear the voices, and it would be like having a virtual pet that you don't have to take for walks every day. So that's just.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to clean up after them. That's awesome. Love it. My type of pet.
Well, the last topic I want to talk about, I'm really excited. We only have a few minutes, so I'm going to get to it right away. It's an article that talks about community factors having a large impact on readmissions. And there have been a lot of talk about how to reduce readmissions and the Affordable Care Act and things that hospitals are supposed to be doing to minimize readmissions. But the fact is, in some cases, hospitals have very little control over the demographics of the people that fit into that group of people that are most likely to have readmissions. They talked about poverty, illiteracy, different socioeconomic status makes for different outcomes and how quickly you heal. So what I wanted to pose a question in, and I think you're a great one to have this conversation with, Linda, is what can they do to leverage social media to address some of the problems that are created by the socioeconomic differences of certain groups of people. And since you've had a lot of experience with a very successful non-smoking campaign, I thought you would have some insight to share in regards to this. So I'm just going to let you go from there.
Well, what's really interesting is we have actually just been talking about this because I do 3 very big state campaigns. We do all the tobacco awareness, we do the click it and ticket, booze it and lose it, and we also are just starting a whole meth awareness campaign, which we are truly targeting that poor demographic, and we're finding out a lot about that audience. They are highly technical because they may not have any money, but they're still socially connected through social media and that type of thing. So we're using messaging direct to what we would call consumers and giving them the messages that they want to see and hear about you know, what's happening, what does meth do to you, trying to break through those barriers to saying, hey, here's what's happening, you've got to change your behavior, and finding ways to really change their behavior through social media. We did it with an anti-smoking thing by doing the cost of smoking, for one, because the cost of smoking is so great just financially, not just to mention health-wise. So we went about it the economic method, and we've seen an increase in the number of quitline calls and people getting help and getting out of the smoking habit because of being able to do it to something that they related to. So we're always trying to relate it to something. You can't go about it in a health way because a lot of times they don't care about their health. We have to find what's going to meet them economically or in their area or something that tugs at their heart. And so just being healthier doesn't often help. So we're trying to find that, but then show them the health benefits alongside of it. So you've got to kind of hit it at both angles.
So what would you say was the #1 smartest thing you did in your no smoking campaign that was effective? Even it doesn't have to be a particular platform or a particular message, but anything. And one thing?
One of the things that we did is we knew that people were getting on at buses. A lot of smokers, if you go to a bus stop, you'll see cigarette butts everywhere. So we put a big, long cigarette, talked about the cost of smoking, all our messaging on social media, billboards, signs of buses, everything was this big, long cigarette talking about the cost of it, of smoking, and we had it at their feet where they were throwing the butts. So even when they were throwing their butts, they were seeing the message that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And so we always try to get them when they're in the moment or wherever they're at so that we can get them while they're doing the event. You can't just tell them about it when they're not. You've got to get them when they're in the process.
That is a great place to end today's discussion. So wonderful advice, wonderful sharing, Linda. I appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks for inviting me.
So this is a wrap-up for today's What's News in Healthcare Social Media with me, Kathy Brown of Brown Knows Social Media, and today with Linda Myers of LAM Consulting. If you have any questions about our conversations or you would like to continue this conversation off-air, feel free to reach out to us, post on the event page, or look us up in the communities. Thank you to my regular viewers and for the comments on the event page. I appreciate it, and I look forward to next week. See y'all!